Very welcome to this space of the Youth Forum 2025. This is the space of you, the youth, what gives sense to Made by Us, hecho por nosotros every day, in order to continue weaving change. Muy bienvenidos a todos. Este es a todos, a todas, es el espacio del Foro de la Juventud en el año 2025. Este es el espacio para cada uno de ustedes, el porqué de la existencia de Hecho por Nosotros, de este espacio vivo que nos permite seguir tejiendo el cambio. Hoy, en el Foro del Youth, los jóvenes van a liderar el evento, así que le doy la palabra a Andrea Guevara.
This space is the result of a collaborative and passionate process that invite us to reflect, to share, and to continue driving the meaningful change. According to the UNFPA 2023 State of World Population Report, there are currently more than 1 billion young people between ages of 10 to 24, making this one of the largest youth generation in history. Yet despite this demographic weight, young people continue to be systematically excluded from decision-making spaces that shape both their present and their future. This exclusion restricts their ability to address the structural challenges they face, from the climate crisis to social inequality and job precarity, and foster a widespread sense of disconnection and powerlessness. In this context, it becomes imperative to stop viewing youth as passive recipients or beneficiaries, and instead recognize them as essential protagonists in the transformation of our societies. To do so, it is crucial to ensure their effective participation and provide them with tools, resources, and platforms needed to co-create inclusive, sustainable, and regenerative solutions. Here at Hecho por Nosotros, we work with a clear vision that strengthens the role of the youth as a driving force for a systemic change. One of our key pillars is to amplify the voices of youth people from the global south, encouraging them to actively engage in the design and implementation of regenerative models that promote more than our future. We firmly believe that their perspectives are vital to shaping innovative solutions within the creative industries. Through collaborative process, we seek to harness their creative resilience and ancestral wisdom as a transformative forces to enrich and reimagine our social and productive systems. One of our second core pillars of our work is the support and empowerment of your young leaders from the global south, right? In developing and scaling sustainable initiatives. This involves fostering access to capacity building, fair financing, and appropriate technology and opportunities to engage in policy advocacy. In addition, we are deeply committed to reclaiming and uplifting the power of storytelling as a bridge between producers, artisans, and consumers. And with over 15 years of experience, we have collaborated with numerous artisans and producers from diverse craft communities, cultivating a strong and respectful relationship grounded in intercultural dialogue, knowledge exchange, and the co-creation of initiatives. These efforts aim to preserve ancestral wisdom, revitalize cultural practices, and promote fair, regenerative economic models that honor both people and the planet. Guided by this approach, Hecho por Nosotros organize annual parallel events within the framework of United Nations, placing youth people at the center of the key agents of change. These spaces are not only to amplify youth voices and lived experience, but also serve as a tangible platforms for influencing public policy and advancing transformative proposals toward sustainable development. In addition, We collaborate closely with organizations such as Ashoka and Catalyst 2030, with whom we continue to ignite and sustain the momentum for the systemic change. Moreover, young people associated with our organization participate in international representation spaces, such the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe or the International Labour Organization. And we have programs such as Youth for Youth, Gender, Lab System Change, among others. And these contributions reflect our commitment to strengthening youth leadership in key global decision-making arenas. What we are going to share today is just one example of the immense potential of youth-led collaboration to revitalize local knowledge and build sustainable models from the ground up. Just imagine the transformative power we could unleash if we unite under and shared purpose. One grounded in coexistence, inclusion, and intergenerational dialogue that places youth at the heart of the change. So let us start and then let us continue within the change together. Thank you.
Thank you so much for Hecho por Nosotros and Imaná for making this space to have the voices of the youth that are making big changes in this world. I believe that youth is the power that can transform our realities and that they have the voice to leader anything what they dream and anything that they want to do in action. My story, it makes me transform my ideas to the action that I have made and how to believe, to continue believing, to keep it in mind, and that my passion will always be to help the youth to be linked to this world and to see that they can be the inspiration and also the leaders of making all their actions true. So my story begins when I was in my university, in my degree, in my bachelor, but I believe that it started like younger on this way to be a change maker. When I was in my university, I realized that I didn't want it to continue studying what I was studying. I'm an industrial designer and I have this like little time crisis of if I'm studying what I need to be studying or not, or maybe I should change my degree. But also in that time here in my city, we were hit by the violence and organization criminals gangs. And in Mexico, probably you know, during the years from 2006 to 2012, even 2015, we were in a big crisis of violence surrounded through all our citizens and through all our actions. So keeping that in mind, I hope you remember that 5 years ago in the pandemic, we were closed and all our dynamics and our behavioral were changed. So on that time, during 2010 through 2012, I was studying my bachelor and all our actions and behavioral, it was changed because of the violence. That was very important for the youth in that moment because we needed to keep in mind that if we go outside our homes, we were in a big crisis and we were hit by this violence and with a lot of fear. We didn't want to have all our movements outside our homes, but we needed to continue our life, even that we hear a lot of things outside and we see a lot of problems outside. We were like going through our university, I had this experience of seeing people killed in the streets, and it was really, really hard for the young people, also the children, to have a normal life in that time. So keeping that in mind, my university decided to change our times and to keep that to try to keep us insecure, like to be really concerned about these moments and to be secure in our homes. So I already lived these times of keeping things close, and it was really normalized for all the people that we were on that moment. So when we were studying, I needed to do my social service. I don't know if you know, but in Mexico, we need to complete 480 hours of social service that is made by law. So we need to, in order to graduate, we need to do social service. So the university changed all the behaviors, changed all our times, and we couldn't go outside the university to make social service. So we tried to bring people, specifically young people from 12 to 15 years old, that they were in their 7th, 8th, 9th grade. So I'm kind of getting nervous, so I'm trying to think in English and then to speak. So, well, during this experience, when I was making my social service, I get to know 3 young boys that they were on my group of social service, and we were a group of 15 bachelor students, and there were like around 30 young people in vulnerable conditions, that they were studying their secondary studies. And well, these 3 guys that I get to know, they were killed by the organization, criminal organization gangs. And my voice continued to get short because that was really a bad experience for everyone. And something that I realized later on is that all the bachelor students that we were on that group, where we get to know these 3 guys that they were killed, now we are dedicating our lives to education, to keep also on mind that education is a a really, really powerful way to change. So for that situation, I was inspired to create a collective for social participation in order to promote peace and culture of peace in young people, to eradicate young people to be in criminal organization gangs. So since then on, I have been participating with young people to create change-making pathways in their lives, to see that it's possible to change the world, to see that making cultural peace is so important in our lives and in our families, to continue creating new movements of young people working in their communities, but not only like as an inspiration, but making actions true.
I have about 2 decades or so of experience in education, and when AI, burst upon the scene, say about 18 months ago, it was exciting. It was really very exciting because it really opened up the potential for systemic change. Well, let me be honest, for the last 15 odd years, technology has been promising change, systemic change. But I believe that AI can actually bring about change in the context of regenerative and sustainability in education models. Why do I say that? 2 things which struck me. Number one, personalized learning journeys. So far, we have never been able to provide personalized learning journeys for learners, and AI has the potential to do so. Kiara, the earlier slide, please. The second thing is barriers to access. Barriers to access literacy and language, where are can be actually uh, removed by AI tools. Now, these are the 2 things which makes me believe that AI can actually create systemic change in the education systems that pretty much globally currently are failing. I would say, to open up the potential of the youth. We believe that if we can, this is the genesis of the project. So we were looking if AI can actually help create a framework of engagement which can instill ownership and preservation within the artisanal community. Now, the artisanal community is the custodian of traditional wisdom, indigenous practices, artisanal skills, and unfortunately, they have the means of transmission for them are limited. And can AI help, break these barriers? I believe so. For example, AI can ensure that this can be in the native languages. Now, language is a critical barrier for, transmission of knowledge. This, therefore, AI can capture it in the native language without any loss of nuance or, loss of I would say, meaning because it's getting translated into something else. So that can be done. It can promote digital inclusion. It's an equitable learning tool, like I just shared. Barriers of literacy, access, language, all can. I have seen experiments where AI has really helped break these barriers. Kiara, the next slide, please. So, what is this repository all about? The repository is, in fact, to create a, a digital, living, growing archive. It is to enable discoverability, which means that can AI help classify, search, link language, create a create a structure where we can preserve and document this artisanal knowledge? I believe so, yes, again. And this is what we want to do in this project. The repository will also support sustainable livelihoods. Why? Because if it is digitally accessible, it will make the artisanal techniques and cultural practices more visible. If it is more visible, we create more demand. If we create more demand, we connect the artisans to the markets, and therefore the local economies can prosper. The most important thing in this entire repository is that AI, I believe, can also support community ownership. So, and that's the challenge in front of us. Can we ensure that the community or members themselves can control, engage, and preserve their cultural heritage and knowledge? This, next slide, please. This can form the basis of a systemic change in education. Why? Because you have this repository, it's a living thing, it's not a standardized system, it is something which is responsive to the learner's skills, their needs, and their interest skills. So it is the AI tool actually can create personalized learning journeys for each learner. It can make this ancestral knowledge accessible to the younger learners in the devices and through technology tools which the younger generation intuitively know how to use. I mean, whether it's apps, prompts, simulations, AR, VR, you name it, they are better at it because it's for them, it is intuitive. And building this repository and using AI to create personalized learning paths means that they will have engaging content in which they can also learn. Most importantly, I also believe it will trigger innovation. It will empower creativity, and we can see an amalgamation of ideas which will happen with ancestral wisdom, young energy to create, to really spark a renaissance, I would say, in the indigenous techniques. Next slide, please.
So you have 30 seconds. Thank you.
Yes. So
Okay.
This has supports SDGs from no poverty to partnership to goals. Next slide, please. And when I'm talking of partnerships, that's where I am throwing this project open and inviting collaborators from every walk of life: youth, community members, technologists, AI developers, cultural institutions, and museums. They have been the stewards of historical archives, academia. We need ethical knowledge frameworks to capture it, to ensure that the community retains the ownership. We need multimedia experts, designers, linguists, legal experts. Most importantly, AI is at the cutting edge of technology. Every week, there's something transformative happening in this space. So we need technology providers to be a part of this journey. And most importantly, we need investors who believe in this, who believe that the traditional knowledge, the wisdom needs to be preserved, and we can use AI to create systemic change for regenerative education. So I would invite all those interested to write to us at HHXN and express your interest, and together we can create something new.
Thank you, Shoba, for presenting, for being part, and so inspiring to use technology and to synergize with local wisdom, traditions, native language, This brings us all together and awakes humility and collaboration and co-creation.
Thank you. A warm welcome, and I'm honored to be in community with each of you today. This most challenging of times is also one of unprecedented opportunity, a time where artificial intelligence combined with the power of human imagination, creativity, and collaboration opens up unprecedented possibilities, especially if we tap into the treasure of our collective ancestral wisdom across the ages and the regenerative, sustainable practices connected to our earth and nature that indigenous peoples across the world cherish and keep alive. I am Radhika Shah, and to me, the Sustainable Development Goals offer us a global normative framework to collaboratively tackle the grand challenges of our times, recognizing the interconnectedness. As the Secretary General of the UN reminds us, they carry the hopes, dreams, rights, and expectations of people everywhere. Having grown up deeply influenced by the Gandhian ethos of respecting the dignity of each of us and thinking of our relationship to nature as that of a trustee rather than nature a resource for us to exploit, to me, the SDGs truly embody this very ethos and are a North Star. As we celebrate youth across our world, what SDG could be more foundational than quality education for all? How can we reimagine education in this moment and think of it more holistically, linked to our everyday lives, to our ancestral wisdom, a means to drive us towards more sustainable futures? Kiara, now you can start my first slide.
Awesome. Just a second and I will do so.
Okay. I recently returned from a visit to the ancient Buddhist caves of Ajanta in the deep heartland of the Deccan Plateau in India. Kiara, you're starting, right? My slides?
Yes,
Kiara?
it is. Sharon, allow me. Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
So on this visit, I visited perched on the steep cliffside of the fast-flowing green waters of the Vagar River, carved into the rock, majestic caves with brilliant paintings of not just the Buddha, but the stories of the Jataka tales. Next slide, Kiara. Vivid and fantastical stories of powerful kings and creatures that teach about loyalty, self sacrifice, empathy, which are very grounded in the way we live today and the way these ancient people lived about 1500 years ago. This slide is about the story of the king of the six tusked elephants who sacrificed himself to teach a lesson. And it's a beautiful story, and it's taught with painting, storytelling, then monk chanting. This is a way we have forgotten to teach now. Next slide, Kiara. This regenerative, immersive, experiential way is the way that I think we can have regenerative education in this moment. And how can technology help us in coming back full circle to this way of living? I want to start by applauding the work of Adriana Marina, my dear friend, at Hecho por Nosotros and the team, and also at Animana, in advancing digital tools and techniques weaved in with ancestral indigenous knowledge to create a new way of learning together, a way in which we bring together very different ways of collaborating, co-creation, co-ideating, and co-learning, and all the way from the high Andes to the Amazon rainforest to the land of Patagonia. They are catalyzing amazing change, and it's been a pleasure to see little glimpses of this and collaborate. And this is what is needed right now, this kind of co-learning and co-creation. That is the regenerative education we need in this moment, bringing the best of new and old. Next slide, Kiara. The Copacan are an entrepreneurial community of camelid farmers in the Peruvian Andes that Adriana's organization works with. It has been amazing to see what change has come with this kind of collaboration. They have brought in sustainable grazing to the pastures, more animal-friendly techniques, tapped into the ancestral knowledge, and yet embrace many modern techniques. They've leapfrogged. If they don't have electricity, if they've gone to solar, and they don't have ways of payment, then they've gone to blockchain technologies with collaboration with Adriana's organization. This is the kind of social sustainable entrepreneurship and global regional collaboration we need in this moment. We have so much to learn from the Copacan. And they are also going to be able to meet global demand as well. That's the other role that Adriana's organization plays, has been very inspiring. Next slide, Chiara. And now as I wrap up, I want to jump to the story in my world of Silicon Valley, Stanford. What can distributed AI do in learning intergenerational collaboration? What can youth, young people who care about everybody do working with older folks? Next slide, Chiara. This is Casper.ai, a Stanford alumna working with brilliant academics, young ones, older ones, have come up with a sort of digital butler that enables the elderly to live dignified, safe, comfortable lives within their own homes. This intelligent butler of sorts cares for them, it detects falls, it reminds them to eat the medicines. Not just that, it learns their preferences on lighting, temperature, and by adapting to them, it makes their life more comfortable, and it saves quite a bit of energy, leading to sustainable living. And these are the stories, one from the high Andes and the indigenous world, one right here in my heartland of Silicon Valley. How can we bring this kind of collaboration and learning to solve the great problems that world faces today? And with that, thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Radhika, for your participation, your continued support, and for your inspiring words today, and the paintings from India. You make us travel and think the importance of technology as a tool to bring us together and to transit this system change. It's the time, it is now, and so happy we are being main actors, yes.
Don't come from the industry that usually Hecho por Nosotros and Anima now works with. I come from the construction industry, but talking with Adriana and with a lot of people from Hecho por Nosotros, I think we have very common challenges, and it makes it very interesting to learn mutually and see how we can collaborate across industries. So one of the main problems we're having in construction is that we have a huge environmental impact. Our industry is one of the biggest producers of CO2. And I think it's the same with the textile industry, with the fashion industry, huge environmental footprint. So we really need to do things different, right? We need to think of different business models. We need to think of different ways of doing things. And so I think that there's a lot of things that are there. Also, in construction, something that we haven't talked a lot is the importance of ancestral knowledge. So something that drove me to construction was that my father was an engineer. And when I was young, I would go to his job sites and we would walk the job sites, and I would be fascinated of how things got actually built. And once I went into university, it was surprising that really, as engineers, we don't learn how things are made. We don't learn how things are built. So it was only until I went back to work and I truly appreciated how things actually got built. I think that disconnect between how things get done and how we design and think and maybe ideate, and another level of people that go to university, there's a huge divide there. And so I think that something that is very interesting is how we can bridge that gap, right, between education or formal education and really building in how things get done, understanding the whole process, because otherwise there's no way we can break the linear production cycle into a circular one, right? If we don't understand where materials come from, how they are manipulated, how they get into production, then there's no way we can think about future uses, recycling, etc. So I think that something that's very interesting is getting young people involved in our traditional industries, getting them interested in making changes, bringing their creative passion. They're not contaminated by traditional ways of thinking. So I think that getting them involved early is very, very important. And I think that's something that is very interesting that all of you are here contributing to this forum, because